Hey everyone, it's me again, Brittany, and I'm here today to show you my August reading bullet journal setup. I'm so excited about this month. It's my birthday month. So I saved my favorite bullet journaling theme for this month, which you guys will see. I mean, spoiler alert, it definitely has to do with like stars and, you know, nighttime, things like that. So I'm so excited to show you guys what I ended up with. Took a long time. This is going to be a little bit of a lengthier video, I can feel it. And I do want to say a quick thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. We'll talk more on that right before I show you kind of like the glam shots of my bullet journal. I think I had a lot of fun doing that last month, so I'm going to do it again this month. We'll talk more on that then. So for now though, let's get into the video. Okay, so we're starting with a new background, more on that later, and I already taped up my pages, so now we're gonna light a candle. And I've never lit a candle in one of my bullet journal videos before. I mean, not in the focus anyways, because I always have one burning. But I love when people light candles in their videos and you get to slowly see it melt down in the corner. Spoiler alert, mine's gonna burn all the way down basically. And as an added bonus, it has pretty little silver sparkles, which match really well with what I'm gonna be doing with my spread. But now I'm just adding some acrylic paint to my very messy palette and mixing it in with a little bit of water to kind of make it thinner. And then I very messily just added on to my bullet journal pages. These are just going directly onto the pages, which is why I felt the need to tape it down to cardboard, an old Fairy Loot box. Reduce, reuse, and recycle, my dudes. Now, the Archer and Olive pages are really thick, so they can handle this paint without bleeding through, but it would still crinkle if it wasn't taped down like I did. And once the acrylic dries down, it turns that really cool matte shade, and it's perfect for adding stars, which I'm doing right now, just using a little splattering technique and my brand new metallic watercolor palette. This one I just found in Hobby Lobby, so I can't really tell you how good it is, but did a pretty good job at making some stars. And here I'm just making a few of the stars a little bit bigger since the splattering is pretty light. And I do just go in with the silver and light gold for all of the spreads in this. I do really like how the stars turned out. I am kind of an overdoer when it comes to stars and maybe added a few too many. And you can see that I even have a little splattered spot right here on one of the pages, but I'm still really pleased with how it turned out. And now I'm just going to be taking off the masking tape that I used on the side to reveal the pattern that I kind of was putting on my title page. So I do really like how that part turned out. It's very clean-ish. And now for my quote page. I did actually kind of plan out most of my journal in my iPad for once in the Procreate app, just to kind of have some guidelines to go by since I didn't have a good idea of how to prepare for this since there was going to be so much painting, and I do really like using my iPad as sort of like a planner. But specifically, I wanted to be able to plan out this quote page because I wanted there to be a lot of cool fonts and for it to all fit really nicely on the page together. And I'm not really good at quote pages yet, so definitely needed the guidelines. But here we actually have one of my favorite star quotes from a book, and that's "To the people who look at the stars and wish," and then the response, which is "To the stars who listen and the dreams that are answered." And I'm pretty happy with the font choices that I actually decided to do for this. I kind of made them all in my head, so if they look a little wonky, that's why. And I did just use some Posca paint pens and jelly rolls in silver, gold, and white to complete all of these things. But here I'm gonna be starting on my Virgo side. So August is my birth month and I am a Virgo, so I wanted the theme to not only be stars and constellations, but specifically be kind of astrologically based. I am a Virgo, I love astrology, so I knew I wanted that to be incorporated in this. But I was nervous just because Virgo is the maiden, and of course I have to draw a whole person in the sky in just jelly rolls. I was really anxious about doing it, but I am happy with how she turned out. And I did make it look like her face was the dark side of the moon, which I thought was so cool. I added just like a little Virgo symbol to her cheek. And I did draw a triangle around her, which is actually going to end up being the alchemical symbol for Earth because Virgo is an Earth sign. So I thought that would be pretty cool, just that upside down triangle with a line through it. And just some cleaning up right now, and we're gonna go on to the next spread. Also, I do want to mention that I am going to be leaving all of the supplies that I used down below, so if you're curious about that, just check my description out. I will try and have everything linked, and if I can't find the exact thing, I will get as close as possible to the exact thing. But here I go in again with more acrylic paint, watered down, and I actually kind of messed up. I forgot that I wanted the left side to not be entirely painted, but I guess I was just in total paint mode and I just had to work with it at that point. And then I ended up just deciding to make the border for my book's red spread and just add it right here in the beginning. Once again, I'm actually changing up a lot of my spreads, but these ones are pretty exciting, so I hope you guys enjoy what I ended up doing with it. And here we see my Too Much Jean go full force with the stars. Once again, just using that splattering technique where I get my brush a little wet, add on some of the watercolor paint, and tap it against my finger. But I added so many stars, so many. But I think it looks a lot better once the inside of the right page is shown to be completely white. And I did just make that side my book's red spread, which you guys have seen me do a million times, so I didn't really show you again. And the page next to it is just sort of a quote page with Night Triumphant and Stars Eternal on the top and bottom, which is another quote from the A Court of Thorns and Roses series. But I do kind of plan on maybe adding quotes from books that I like in metallics on that page. And here we're already on to the next spread. I did kind of have to rush this process just because it took me so long, but I'm kind of plotting out the different things that I don't want to be painted in because it's going to be my video page. And I actually did end up using watercolors just in purple, dark blue, and black for this spread. I was mostly just experimenting with a ton of different mediums in my journal for this month, so I can't really be that mad that I didn't love how this one turned out, but I didn't love how it turned out. I just kind of went in with this weird flowy pattern. I don't know. This is actually my boyfriend's favorite spread, so that's really interesting, but I don't love the border that I made, and I also don't like that since I used a thicker brush to splatter on the stars, they were a lot thicker and more bold. Plus, they got all over the middle part since I didn't block that off with paper, and I don't love the look of that either. And then here, I had a really hard time writing in videos in both my gel pen and my paint pen because the paint was still drying. I do end up fixing that later on though. And now I'm just creating, I think, 9 different spaces for videos, and the big block is where I'm gonna be writing in the video title, and the 3 blocks underneath are going to be from left to right, the date I filmed it, the date I edited it, and the date I upload it, just to kind of have a better idea of how long it takes me to do all of those things. And I kind of brought back my little video planner, which I used to have in last year's bullet journal all the time, and I think it's just so helpful to have it right next to where my videos are, and to not have any pressure to have to do them, just to kind of have a good place for me to plot out ideas for videos that I could film. And that's how this one turned out. I just kind of went in with some tombos and tried to make it more obvious that each of the blocks were blocks since the stars messed it up. And now the next spread, where once again I am taping everything down. Can you sense a theme? Honestly, the taping took the most time, but this spread is quite a bit different than any that I've done before, and here I'm actually cutting out some black paper from one of my other Archer and Olive notebooks because it's gonna have a little bit of a habit tracker. And now you're just gonna see me do some more watercoloring and paint splattering. So while I do what I've been doing this entire time, let's talk about my background, because I said I'd mention it later on, and I actually took the desk that I've had this entire time and added some gray wood contact paper on it, and I love how this looks for these videos. I was really tired of my white table background, and I actually talk more about it in a vlog that's either up already or should be coming up very soon, so look forward to that. But I am really pleased with how this looks. I think that it's just so much more easy on the eyes. I hope you guys like the new background as well. And I love that I got little star flecks all over my brand new table background. But don't worry, they actually washed off pretty easily. The most satisfying part, I swear, is taking off all of that tape and seeing the design patterns that I plotted out come to fruition. And here I just add in the little habit tracker using some glue tape on the back and some washi tape that I had. But the washi tape, honestly, the ones that I own are really bad at actually sticking down. So I don't know what that's about. It's just probably the quality of it, and I need to get different washi tapes because it's no fun to use washi tape if it's just going to completely unstick from what I stick it on. So on the top, I actually just did the different cycles of the moon, laid out how the weeks are laid out in August to track my Bookstagram posting schedule. I also wrote my hauled books on the left side, and then the bottom are just general habits that I really want to track that have to do with like bookish stuff, booktube, reading, anything like that, just because I found that I was using my life journal to track those things and it made me want to reach for my reading journal less. So if I have these habits to mark off at the end of every night, I thought it might make me want to use my reading journal more. So yeah. And now for the last spread. This one I kept pretty simple overall. I just wanted a pretty cool design on the left side, and then I wanted the right side to just be my monthly favorite for the books. And I just used some washi tape to make a triangle here and filled it in. I think that I used gouache paint for the middle of this triangle, which I've never used before, which is why it probably looks so messy. But I got some new gouache paint and I wanted to give it a shot, but I don't think it worked very well. And here you see my washi tape unsticking. I told you, I just don't have good washi tapes, I think. So leave me some good recommendations down below for your favorite places that sell washi tapes. And I just also made some pattern on the right side so I can use that as a title header. And used my thin brush to make the star flecks. I feel like having a very thin brush is key to make it actually look more star-like. And this is kind of when I started to lose track of what I really wanted to do with the left page since I had no ideas going into it. I hadn't planned out this spread. I just started using all of the metallic colors and making lines and I don't know. I did another earth alchemy symbol on the bottom and I just kind of remade my lines thicker because I thought that maybe the gold wasn't standing out enough. I found that with this palette, I had to do a lot of layering to make the gold look as opaque as I want it to look. And then on the top, I actually did another triangle that's just upside down with no line because I believe that's the alchemy symbol for fire, and fire is my personal favorite element, I think. But then I kind of went in with some silver, wrote in faves on the right, just kind of messily. And then I had this paper that I'd been using as like a block for the page on the previous page, and it had all these little cool star speckles all over it, so I cut it out and made it into the Polaroid for the month. And then I decided to add in more stuff on the left side and did the sun and the moon, since those are, you know, iconic for astrology things. But I did try and make the left side silver on the outer part and the right side gold, since I wanted them to kind of mirror each other, because the inside of the moon is silver and the inside of the sun is gold. It's really hard to see this part, I'm sorry about that. It's because of my ring light, but in person it looks a lot better. And I did actually end up going in with like a darker bronze to outline both of them since I felt it needed it. Oh, you can see it a lot better there. And that's kind of how I left that. But I did leave it kind of purposefully like that because I wanted maybe some suggestions of a quote about stars from you guys. Preferably bookish, and I'll just add it into the middle of the triangle once you give it to me. And now before we do the flip through, let's talk quickly about the sponsor. So again, big thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. I have partnered with Skillshare in quite a few of my videos before, so you might not be new to who Skillshare is, but in case you are, Skillshare is an online learning community made by creatives for creatives with thousands upon thousands of classes that can really fit whatever kind of interest you may have. Whether you're just beginning or you're dabbling or you're a pro, you really can find anything that might fit your needs. And these classes can fit basically anywhere in your schedule because most of them tend to be under 60 minutes long total, but they do have very bite-sized portions so that you can just do pieces of it at a time. Some of the class topics that specifically interest me tend to be like the illustrating ones, the lifestyle ones, productivity, photography, there's some on videography, and honestly they have a ton of other types of classes that I have started to kind of dabble in because for me personally I find it very soothing to kind of throw myself into fun hobbies, especially when the world can be a little bit of an uncertain place. Now, what's absolutely great about Skillshare is because it's made specifically for learning, there are absolutely no ads, and as a member you get access to all of the classes for under $10 a month if you pay for the annual subscription. Specifically, one of the classes that I've really been enjoying has been Fun with Faces, Create a Stylized Digital Portrait by Charlie Clemens. And I, as you guys know, love to draw, but I've always wanted to kind of have a certain style to my drawing, a purposeful style, because it tends to either be hyper realistic or just way too cartoony. So this kind of class was absolutely perfect for me, and it's really a good time because she just kind of is breaking you out of your shell and helping you out to create a digital portrait. Specifically, this one uses Procreate, but she even says that you can use really any kind of drawing app. But if you do use Procreate, she shows you her actual paintbrushes, which I think is super cool. But Skillshare has actually been kind enough to give me a link for the first 1,000 of you guys that click it down below in my description, and you can try out Skillshare for 2 months for free if you are one of those first 1,000. So thank you again to Skillshare for sponsoring today's video, and now let's get into the glam shots. And now for the glam shots. So I did clean up a lot of things in all of the spreads just because I felt like they needed it. And I am pretty happy overall with how it looks. There's still some pencil marks. I didn't know how an eraser would go over paint, so I haven't done that yet. But I love, love, love how that title page looks. Also, I don't know if you guys noticed, I don't have an area for my TBR. I'm not going to be doing a TBR this month. I just want to relax, which is exactly what this spread makes me feel. Just very relaxed and calm, and like I'm looking at the night sky. So I'm so, so happy with everything. Sorry for all the blur effects. I mean, it is a glam shot after all. But I hope that you guys enjoyed doing this with me. I hope you enjoyed watching my candle basically burn to the very bottom, since I worked on this for hours upon hours upon hours upon hours, when I really thought that because I was painting most of it, it would take me a lot less time. But silly me, painting means that you have to wait for it to dry, which is not something that I anticipated. But don't forget to give me a quote maybe for that triangle on this page. And thank you all so, so much for watching. If you actually persevered and watched to the very end of this with me, then please leave me a star and a moon emoji with that quote. Just because I'm curious, I mean, and grateful. So yeah, thank you all so, so much for watching. I love y'all so, so much, and I hope you're staying safe. Goodbye! Oh, and I'll see you in my next one.